Oh, what's this? A message? I think I'll read it aloud. Hello, Phil. I am a complete D&T novice who made some interesting, triple air quote, choices when putting my list together. I will subject you, a D&T master, to this for my amusement. If you are interested, I have an additional challenge bounty. I will donate an extra $30 after this video goes live if one of the following two challenges are met. Number 1, win a game where you activated Zuran Orb sometime before the final turn of the game. Number 2, win a game where you activated Pacification Array at all. Did I just get a bounty for playing bad cards? I think I just got a bounty for playing bad cards. Okay, let's do this. This is wild. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for a Legacy Death and Taxes video sponsored by Dakota. And Dakota has thrown down the gauntlet and is trying to get me to win the game with some interesting cards. So let's do this. First, let's just kind of briefly talk about the Death and Taxes list itself that I'll be playing. So essentially, notable things that are going on here is that we have Urza's Saga, which is going to allow us to tutor out Aether Vial, Retrofitter Foundry, or Soul Guide Lantern in Game 1. Now, the jank comes in the post-sideboard games, where we can also use this to tutor out Pacification Array, which can tap an artifact or creature. Unfortunately, this is not a Rashadan port, so it doesn't also go after lands. Or Zuran Orb, sacrifice a land, you gain 2 life. So our challenge is to blow up some of our own lands intentionally for life, or get and use Pacification Array. Now, it's not just good enough to get one of these things in play and activate it. I do have to win the game afterwards. So the challenge has been thrown down. As far as other notables in the main deck, we are on a very greedy mana base here. If we just kind of take a look at this, and I'm going to move these other things out of the way to show this off. This list only has 12 true white sources. It is playing 2 Cavernous Souls and 2 Urza's Sagas in the flex land positions. So we may occasionally have trouble casting some of these colored cards. Notably here, there's nothing like Council's Judgment in the sideboard that has like double like natural white pips, because casting them probably wouldn't be too realistic. As far as other notables in the main deck, we do have a Palace Jailer, which is not particularly popular right now. It can be a very useful answer to certain things. For example, it's something you can just ploop into play and get to answer a Murktide Regent. But a lot of Palace Jailers slots recently have gone towards Solitude instead, especially in the Yorion builds where having Vial going up to 5 is actually something that happens somewhat frequently as the games go very long. The sideboard of this specific Death and Taxes deck list is incredibly focused. It has picked what it wants to beat. There are 4 Deafening Silences here and 4 Path to Exiles here. This is just very clearly saying, like, I don't want to lose to Storm-type decks, and I don't want to lose to Delver. Memo received makes sense. Other than that, we just have a couple of Hate Bearers and a couple of Urza's Saga tutor targets to round things out. In case you haven't seen a lot of D&T content in the last few months, Kaldra Complete has now kind of eclipsed Sword of Fire and Ice as equipment slot number 3 if you are only playing 3 pieces of equipment. The card is incredibly powerful and gives you a way to just really turn on the gas and makes your Stone Forges very valuable versus combo in a way that they frequently weren't previously. Let me know in the comments what you think about this sort of bounty situation. Is this something you want to see more of in the future? Is this too gimmicky and you don't want to do it? Let me know what your thoughts are. This is the first time that I've done something quite this ridiculous, so we'll see how it fares. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for regular Legacy, Modern, and Vintage content, and if you're a regular, throw me a like. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. Gotta keep the algorithm happy, or Phil doesn't put food on the table. No, JK, it's like not really that bad. This is my D&D money, so I can buy sweet dice, sort of thing. Okay, let's fight. All right, first opening hand here is kind of tricky. In many cases, this is going to just be an unexciting do-nothing hand. This is the kind of hand where if the Spirit of the Labyrinth gets countered or lightning bolted, I really don't have a lot else going on. I think I'm just going to try to fish for something that is a little bit more consistent. Yeah, what the fuck is this shit? That is both of our Urza Saga Singleton bullets. This is a yikes. This is a very good 5-card hand. This is a very, very good 5-card hand. Second Mom versus third land is kind of tough. On the draw here. Draw. 24 lands. I just want the land. So I'm going to lead on this Cavern of Souls, and if this Cavern of Souls gets wastelanded, I'd still like to have 2 lands so that I can play this. Alright, we're just going to draw all the uncastable / junky cards this game. That's okay. My opponent mulligan, maybe they're on a combo deck, and like I'll put the Thalia into play, and everything will be like fine and dandy. Triome, okay, not combo. Okay, which Triome is this? This is the Rug Triome. So we are probably playing against a 4-color control deck of some nature. That probably means that I don't just want to send in this Thalia as quickly as possible. Or sorry, I don't want to send in Mother of Runes for damage here, is what I was getting at. So I'm actually in a really bad situation, despite the fact that I have like a Mother of Runes backing a Thalia here, because my opponent's just going to like play a land and then pass the turn, and I have to decide whether or not I'm going to attack into a potential endurance. And if I have to give pro green, oh, what is this? Oh, just a 2-mana ponder. Okay, great, never mind. I don't have to play around endurance. Finishing the thought, if my opponent like casts an endurance and then I have to give up the Mother of Runes activation to give it pro green so that I can actually get in with that attack, then it opens up things like Prismatic Ending or Swords to Plowshares or whatever for the following turn. Okay. We found more Mom. We'll just floop that into play and send in the Thalia. We are looking to hit a gas card here. A Stoneforge Mystic, a Recruiter of the Guard, a Skyclave Apparition, something of that general nature is what I'm looking for here. Fuck me. I was not 100% expecting Terminus after Ketria Triome and Field of the Dead. That is what it is. We're probably just dead this game. I'm going to play out for a little while, even though I think I'm dead. Because my opponent is at 13 already, and I do have this Cauldron in hand. It'll be somewhat unlikely to actually resolve. But if it does, I might actually be able to do a finishing blow to my opponent. I don't have that much time before... Oh, never mind. My opponent's missing land drops. Things are okay. Alright. This is on human. We'll just blink a land out. And we're not really in the situation where I can just like save this Flicker Wisp to try and grind value out of it. I really need to just attempt to get my opponent dead. No bonus cards taken off the Sylvan Library here. So my opponent missed a land drop last turn, right? And then they didn't draw through. Why are they stopping in my draw step? They don't have Vendilion click mana. What else could that represent? Unsure. Endurance is a 3/4. Reach. Don't think I'm in the situation to play around it here. Okay, nice. Opponent goes to 10. I play an Aether Vial. Oh, that got a Force of Will. Okay. That's a force pitching a force, probably just to keep those cards live. Notably, that does shorten the clock from 4 turns to 3 turns, although honestly, I do not expect this Flicker Wisp to be that long for this world. Still not drawing any extra cards here. Oh. Well, my draw sucks, but so does my opponent's. Oh, Retrofitter Foundry at this stage of the game is actually pretty legit. My opponent just burned a Force of Will. And this is going to be something that can allow me to go wide of just 1 blocker. Totally happy with this. Would I rather it just be another creature? Yes, absolutely, but this is fine. So double Sylvan Library is not actually super appealing here. It's like, you're going to trigger, put 2 back, and then you're going to look at the same 2 again. It's when you start paying life that you can get deeper with the second Sylvan Library, but at 6, my opponent really isn't in the position to do that unless they find like an Uro. Alright, so that answers my Retrofitter Foundry, but I still get a 1/1 out of it. My opponent doesn't have Endurance mana up currently. Oh, Rashad Port is insane here. I'm very happy with that. Send them in for 4. Next turn is lethal. Opponent's down to 2. And I will have to decide what I want to port in the upkeep. So this one is for Prismatic Ending and Swords to Plowshares, and this one is for literally any cantrip. What do I care about more? Probably removal, but this also can just like Ponder and Preordain and stuff into it. I'm going to hit Savannah. It also makes it harder to just like Mize a Terminus or something like that and get me. Okay, that is just a concession after looking at the cards there. We both had really bad hands, if I'm being honest. So my opponent is on some sort of Miracles-esque control deck, and unfortunately, if we kind of look at how the sideboard here is built, we don't have any sort of like Cataclysm or Gideon sort of effect. So I will probably be doing minimal sideboarding here. I did not explicitly see something that I need to Pithing Needle, but it's probably reasonable that there's some sort of like Jace or Teferi or Shark Typhoon sort of cards somewhere in this 75. The Triumph that I saw might be purely for a 4th color for Prismatic Ending, by the way. I don't think I can justify boarding in either Zuran Orb or Pacification Array. Like, as much as I want a bounty hunt, I do also want to win games of Magic. I didn't see much in terms of like my opponent's creature base or threat base, which makes this harder. Like, I'm not sure how many Swords to Plowshares I should be playing. I don't know like how useful Mother of Runes is, because I don't know how many Terminus my opponent has. There's a lot of variables here. I think in a vacuum, not knowing exactly what's going on, I'm just going to swap the Soul Guide Lantern for the Pithing Needle and call it good. Like, I have some other minor choices I could make, like bringing in an Aethersworn Canonist or something like that, but my sideboard is not built for this matchup. As I said in the deck, my sideboard is just super focused. This opening hand is mediocre, but I will certainly be keeping it. We have 2 decent 2-drop threats, and I have an early Wasteland. I'm kind of looking at my opponent's mana base last game. Unless they have something like a Life from the Loam, a Wasteland is going to do an exceptional amount of damage. Now, Life from the Loam is something that kind of would make sense in their Field of the Dead deck. So, like, I'm going to keep that in mind, but I am absolutely just firing off Wasteland on their first land and resetting the clock. Okay, my opponent does have more lands. I didn't expect to just, like, get them on, like, a 1-land ponder sort of situation, especially after they didn't shuffle. I will have a real choice next turn for whether or not I want to play Thalia or Spirit of the Labyrinth. Both will probably be quite good. All right. Library? Okay, it is the Life from the Loam. Yep, that's fine. Notably, my build also does not have something like Rest in Peace. Yeah, all right. So that Wasteland is now considerably worse, and I have to decide whether or not I want to do Spirit of the Labyrinth shenanigans or Thalia shenanigans. Both are medium. I think I want to play just Spirit of the Labyrinth this turn. And then next turn I can play Thalia with Caracas Protection. And I can try to play that bounce game and be better against things like Prismatic Ending, Swords to Plowshares, and even Terminus. So that was a pause on my opponent's draw step, which makes me think Terminus. I'll have to be careful if my opponent plays a Brainstorm. Okay. Green? Not green. Okay. There is a weird play of Wasteland the Trop, and then that takes him off of Life from the Loam temporarily, but I don't think I'm going to mess around with that. I think I'm just going to try to get this damage in. Alright, Swords to Plowshares is fine. And then we will play the ever so bouncy Thalia. Okay, my opponent might just have draw step stops or Miracle Bluff set. Okay, sure. Now that my opponent has 2 different green sources, a Wasteland in any sort of capacity like that is probably not going to work out. Prismatic Ending. I mean, like, I'm obviously going to bounce the Thalia. Okay. I mean, we got a 2-for-1 with a Thalia. That's still a pretty big win. Oh. Ooh, I like that. So I'll Stoneforge Mystic. This first one gets Cauldra. And then I will Stoneforge Mystic again. This plays into a blind flipped Terminus, but plays around a Swords to Plowshares or equivalent pretty well. Because Batterskull is hard castable with 1 more mana, I am just going to grab that. Notably here, if we had a Sword of Fire and Ice, this would be a great opportunity to go and pick one up. Okay, this is an expressive iteration. Makes sense. Kind of like after we saw the Taiga, that was the hint that this sort of thing was pretty likely to happen. Hitting another expressive iteration. Wow. Are they just... Okay, yeah, they're just going for it immediately. I have some interesting double Wasteland lines available to me next turn. Oh, my opponent has a Wasteland. Are you going to protect your own Wasteland, or are you going to take my Karakas? Okay, yep. Ooh. That's interesting. So I could take a tempo route where I try to like blow up my opponent's land, play a Mob and a Cauldron, and just try to ride that to victory. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to go with double pieces of equipment into play. Because this Cauldron just hits like a truck. I'll crash in. My opponent will likely try to remove this Cauldron in one way or another. They might be in a situation where if they don't do something cool, like a Terminus, they're dead in 2 turns. They have plenty of things that can get them out of this spot, but they don't have a lot of time to do things like cantrip. Like that previous round where they cast a couple of expressive iterations was cool and all. I have to choose whether or not I want to put in a Batterskull right now. I think I will. Alright. So this could cheat in something like an Uro, but like I have a Karakas to bounce it. Okay, that's fine. Alright, that's a quick shuffle there. Alright, fetch. Not actually super worried about this at this time. Okay, yeah, expressive iteration is fine. Like that's 5, 9, 10, 11 damage next turn. Sure. And the dress down disappears. I'm just going to take all of this damage here. We'll just send that all in. This puts my opponent to 2. And now I believe it is correct to Wasteland one of their white sources so that they cannot get to 6 mana and hardcast a Terminus on their turn, which is one of the things that would most fuck me up. And I'm just going to hold up bouncing a Batterskull here. Alright, we dodged Blind Terminus. Double Brainstorm plus Land Drop is still an out. That's fine. That is not enough life to stay alive. Okay, that's a Field of the Dead. I'm not worried about that. I'm still having lethal through a Swords to Plowshares or equivalent. So this should be GG, I believe. That is GG. Alright, I have no lands here. This is an easy mulligan. This is an easy keep. And now the question is, which card do I throw back? If we are not playing against a creature deck, I want to throw back Swords to Plowshares. We are playing against a creature deck. It's a little closer, like which one I want to throw back. In a vacuum, I think I'm going to throw back the Swords. It'll make me a little worse versus a turn 1 Ragavan if we are playing against Blue-Red Delver. Alright, we are not. We are playing against an Ancient Tomb deck of some kind. I think to avoid Wasteland, I'm just going to go Plains Mother of Runes rather than making it uncounterable here. Because I 100% want to curve Thalia into Cavern of Souls. We're playing against a red prison deck. Never mind, we're playing against Eldrazi. I hadn't seen this deck in months, and then I came across it like twice in 2 leagues. That's kind of wild. Mother of Runes is exceptionally bad, given that. It's not like it has no text. There are occasionally still things like Dismember that can come up, and occasionally some of these decks do play one of the red or sometimes blue or green Eldrazi. Like, there's stuff it can do, but we have 4 Swords to Plowshares in the sideboard that I can bring in for this matchup, and maybe something like a Pithing Needle as well. It's kind of wild that my opponent kept this hand, just by the way. Don't want to draw that. Alright, we will name Core here. And I'll Skyclave Apparition away this thing. This is a Dies trigger, notably. Not a Leaves play. And we will just crash in with these critters. This is one of those few matchups where I don't just have to leave the Mother of Runes back to play around removal. Since my opponent did not have like a Thought-Knot Seer or a Reality Smasher or anything of that nature, I should probably be thinking that they are going to go much bigger than I am going right now with things like Ugin. Alright. This is another 5 damage, and then unfortunately I don't have anything else to do with my mana here. My opponent goes to 13. Aldra could be a finishing blow, but I am pretty afraid of just, like, outright losing to something like an All Is Dust because I didn't have enough ability to close out this game. Like, drawing 2 of the legendary creature, plus... I won't say that we flooded, but we drew a land-heavy hand. Yeah. And now my opponent gets a 3/3. Which will be bigger than the Thalia that I'm about to make, and I'm going to have Eye of Ugin to worry about. I really could use a wasteless... Fuck, no, you're... Thalia, please. There is a time and a place. It is not here. I am going to play out this Thalia, even though it actively makes it harder for me to cast my Kaldra. The reason is because I need the possibility of attacking. I really need to attempt to get my opponent to 5 before they can do what they're about to do. Like, they can just tutor with Eye of Ugin now, and life's bad. Alright, that's fine. We can scoop it up here. GG's. Yep, too many Thalias plus a Kaldra plus a Mulligan. Alright, I would like all 4 Path to Exiles. Pithing Needle will sometimes do something to something like Eye of Ugin, and I actually think it's justifiable to sideboard in Pacification Array here. So, like, I know I don't want Soul Guide Lantern, and I know I don't want Mother of Runes. That means that I only have to make one more cut if I want to get all of this stuff in. I could pretty easily cut a handful of things here. So, for example, Sanctum Prelate is really awkward. The reason is you end up playing this, like, Ugin versus All Is Dust dance, where, like, you can name 7 and shut off All Is Dust and then lose to Ugin, or vice versa. I don't think I want to dedicate my mana to this effect most of the time. This is what we've got to work with. We don't have a big haymaker in the sideboard, something like a Cataclysm specifically for this matchup. This has mana denial, but no threat, and I don't think Urza's Saga counts as a threat here. Because if I play the Urza Saga and then activate it, I'm letting up on the Rishadan port, which is the whole strength of this hand. I think I can do better than this. Fuck me. This does not have white mana. We're going to go to 5 here. This is the best hand that we have seen so far. I think I probably need to throw back both removal spells and just keep the things that have the possibility of attacking. So one of your best possible starts against these sorts of decks is just Aether Vial into a Wasteland. It buys you so much time. Once I use the Wasteland, though, it means that I can't cast the Spirit of the Labyrinth on turn 2. Oh, alright, we're not Wastelanding immediately. I do also have to be cognizant of Sorcerous Spyglass as being a thing that can occur. And also Thought-Knot Seer. Thought-Knot Seer usually doesn't happen after your opponent just plays a 1-mana land, though. So I think I am just going to go for good old Kaldra and try to aggro out this hand. There are worlds involving something like a Grim Monolith where my opponent could play a Thought-Knot Seer and take this turn, or my opponent could Sorcerous Spyglass and shut off my Stoneforge. Like, there's shit that can happen. It wasn't true Soul Land plus that, which is good for me. Now, more than anything else, I would like to just draw a land so that I can activate Stoneforge Mystic and Wasteland. Fuck, yes. Yes. It is nice when your plan actually comes together. And now we'll bash in for 5 damage, putting my opponent to 15. My opponent is unlikely to have card draw effects. I'm just going to let the Spirit of the Labyrinth chill here in my hand. I'll put it in end of turn. And then we'll have my opponent on a 2-turn clock. My opponent might have a thing with actual colorless symbols, and they're trying to puzzle through why they couldn't pay for it by playing planes. Yeah. Okay, that is an Endbringer. That is a little annoying. Am I putting the Spirit of the Labyrinth into play? Skyclave Apparition doesn't actually answer that Endbringer. If I spike Path or Swords, I would like to have the Spirit of the Labyrinth in play, and if I don't, I do not want to have this in play. I can also spike Flicker Wisp. I think I'm just going to hold this in hand. I'm going to tick this up so that Flicker Wisp is a live draw. Nope. Alright. So I bash in with this. My opponent goes to 10. Now here's the thing. For 1 mana, 1 colorless mana specifically, target creature can't attack or block this turn. So stuff can happen. This all... It is just tapping to deal damage to a target. It does not require colored mana. Or sorry, colorless mana. Oh. That's fine. I'll just take that damage. So I go to 15. Fuck. Well, kind of. So this creature is just going to untap. I don't think I want to put this into play. Well, I just put this into play and attack for effectively 3. Which is actually effectively 5 due to Ancient Tomb. Yeah, okay. Alright, yeah, I'll do that. I don't think I'm actually going to exile Grim Monolith here. I don't think my opponent is going to have a chance to untap that. And I don't want to, like, remove this and then give my opponent the chance to get a token off of, like, an All Is Dust. Oh, nice. Okay, so I'll go to combat. My opponent will tap down Kaldra. Oh, they won't? Oh, no, they have priority. Oh, wow. Wild. You just want to draw a card? Yeah, I mean, I'll just attack with this then. That puts my opponent to 5. Do I source the Plowshares as Endbringer? And then play my Spirit of the Labyrinth? Or do I just sandbag it? I probably end up Source of Plowsharing the Endbringer end step either way. My opponent can't just, like, untap this. Yeah. Okay. Alright, they're not going for the card. This is theoretical lethal next turn. We'll see if it ends up actually being lethal. Okay. Is it All Is Dust? No, it is not. It is multiple Matter Reshapers. Is a touch awkward for me. Flicker Wisp would be a cool draw. It's basically a Flicker Wisp, but with extra steps. Alright. We'll put in the Skyclave Apparition. We'll remove one of these. I will send in everything. My opponent blocks Spirit of the Labyrinth, and then they take 8 damage and die. Okay, good stuff. I feel like we're more or less sideboarded properly. Talking about some weird fringe stuff that I could do. I could also bring in Containment Priest to turn Flicker Wisp into a nuke, but we are only playing 3 Flicker Wisps, and it shuts off my Vial, so I don't think I actually want to do that. I think we won that one on a mold of 5. Oh, this hand is solid. We have Vial into port, plus a removal spell. This isn't a top-tier hand. Like, if it had a Wasteland as well, like, then we'd be looking at having something really powerful. Now, this hand does get considerably worse if my opponent goes just, like, Ancient Tomb, Chalice of the Void on turn 1. But your hands can't beat everything. Batterskull is one of our worst draws there. But it's not the end of the world. Okay. Alright, Matter Reshaper is not scary here. I essentially just need to buy time for this Aether Vial to tick up, and then I will find a way to win the game, probably with a Flicker Wisp. I'm just going to Rishadan Port my opponent to death here. If my opponent can't get any more spells out, this Vial will take over the game. I'll happily pay my tribute of 3 life here in order to try and keep my opponent locked down. Okay. That's a little scary if I'm being honest. Yeah. We'll see what they take. Probably Path to Exile, although Recruiter of the Guard is not crazy either. Yeah, wait. I just went to Exile. Swords over Path? Oh, do you actually have a basic in your deck? Okay. Okay. I'm going to play my land and go to my opponent's upkeep. In the upkeep, I'm going to Path to Exile Thought-Knots here. Okay, they do not have the basic land. I will now tap down City of Traders, and we'll see if my opponent wants to untap this Grim Monolith in response. Okay, they are going to float the mana. I will set a draw step stop. Okay, so they are going to untap that. Now that there's no mana floating, I will just activate this. Yes, and put in a Thalia. Okay. Good stuff. Yes, I will activate this. All right. Now, world is kind of my oyster here. I can either set up Flicker with Chains or set up equipment. I think I just want to set up the Stoneforge, honestly. I grab Stoneforge Mystic with this. I do 2 mana, grab the Stoneforge. Yes, this grabs the Cauldron. I don't know if I actually want to attack in with this Thalia. I think I am the aggressor now. I will. I'll let my opponent block for a card. Unsure whether or not that's actually correct. The Glimmer Post. Sure. I more wanted whatever they did to go to hand rather than play. But I'm not actually super afraid of an All Is Dust right now. Because if my opponent All Is Dusts me, like, yes, it's a 3-for-1, but then I just have, like, a Cauldron or a Batterskull. Or both if this game goes long. Yeah, so, like, this is fine. I will just play a Batterskull on my turn. I don't love tapping down off of Rashadan Port to do that. But I will be doing that. Alright. There's my Batterskull. Couple turns away from Cauldron. Oh, I should not F6 there. Okay, opponent's going big. Gain 3 life off of that. They lose the City of Traders. Starting to get into the range of, like, Ugin-sized things, which is scary, but we're not quite to the range. That's annoying. That's going to be an Ensnaring Bridge. That's going to be hard to beat. Okay, there's the minus. There's the Ensnaring Bridge. Alright, so I don't have something like a Revoker here. Alright. I can get a Cauldron into play next turn, but that doesn't really accomplish much. With my opponent having as much mana as they do, probably need to, like, lean on this Thalia and try to get some cards stuck in my opponent's hand. Like, it's realistic that I might be able to attack with a Thalia. I don't think it's realistic that I'm going to get to attack with this, like, Germ token soon. My Aether Vial is also off now. Okay, yep, untap the Monolith. That's fine. 2 Skyclaves that can just, like, outright answer this stuff. Did I use one already? No, I did not use one already. I also just have Flicker Wisps that can get things out of the way temporarily. The temporary is not great. Oh, am I just going to get latticed immediately? Oh, Walking Ballista. Oh yeah, I guess they couldn't lattice me immediately. Because then they'd have 2 cards in hand. Thalia could attack Karn. Alright, so this is a Ballista for 4. A Wasteland. Not the worst. Not particularly good either, though, unfortunately. Alright, so my opponent pings the Thalia at my end step. Not surprising. I think I'm going to go after a Glimmer Post rather than go after an Ancient Tomb. This leaves them with more active mana, but tapping the Ancient Tomb reduces their life total, which is something I very much care about right now. Alright, so my opponent animates my Aether Vial and pings it, which is a pretty respectable play. Yeah. I will floop this into play. I don't think this is something that is going to be relevant to the match. I could be wrong, though. Like, there could be a time where I just remove an Ensnaring Bridge for 1 turn with a Flicker Wisp, and then I get in there and finish things off. But my opponent is quickly reaching enough mana that they can just, like, get rid of my stuff. And in case you aren't familiar with what just happened... Oh, nice. Alright. So you're uncounterable. Takes out the Ensnaring Bridge so my stuff can attack. I am fine attacking with the Batterskull. Alright, so this itself does not actually have Trample. Accordingly, I think I'm just going to send both of these things at Karn and make sure Karn is good and dead. Because as long as Karn is dead, then I can do cool things. Thing is that my opponent can block Cauldron and quadruple shoot this Germ token. Okay, that works too. Alright. So that dies, giving my opponent another critter. Okay, so that's how they're gonna protect their Karn for this turn cycle. Oh, that's fine. That means they're losing everything. Alright. So there goes my Germ. I can't activate these abilities, but something like a Flicker Wisp now ends up being really good. I think I'm just going to get Mycosynth Latticed this turn, though, and it doesn't matter. It's like, even after porting this, my opponent still has access to 6 mana and enough Karn loyalty. Seems like I'm right. Oh, do they not have Lattice? Sure seems like they don't have Lattice. Holy moly. I'll play this Flicker Wisp. I will blink my Cauldron. It comes back at end step, and will repopulate the Germ that's on it. So now my opponent should have you. Well, no, it's fine. That doesn't actually do anything. That doesn't. This is until end of turn. All right, so this is going to be an untap of Grim Monolith. That's fine. All right. Do I get to kill this Karn? That's blowing up my Schadenport. Opponent is going to have enough mana to tutor with Eye of Ugin. No. Seems like they... Okay. All is dust. That's rough. It might be an exaggeration to say this is a Wasteland or Bust turn, but it's pretty close. Shit. Yep. Alright, so I lose another Plains here. That's fine. So this is... Oh, nope. Okay, that is just an Ulamog in hand. Alright. That eliminates a lot of outs. What I'm about to do is not going to bring me great joy. Okay, that's fine. There's so much life. I think I am just going to be dead to any number of other things. I maybe shouldn't have even played that out. I don't know. It's a distraction for this Karn, so it doesn't keep tutoring other stuff. I really just expected my opponent to have Mycos and Lattices just straight up kill me, though. But that hasn't happened yet. Yep, okay. I mean, this protects my white sources for another turn. And that matters for some sequences involving Recruiter of the Guard. Alright, I think at this point, I'm comfortable just conceding. My opponent... Well, I will make them show me another threat off Eye of Ugin in some crazy fucking world where they're only playing Ulamog as their only threat. I can maybe win from here, but the thing is that Eye of Ugin lets you just tutor for a colorless creature card, so even if it's just something small like a Thought-Knot Seer or a Walking Ballista or something like that, that is eventually going to get there. I'm just going to see what they have, and then I'll probably just concede. Alright, so that's 2 life to activate the Eye of Ugin. And there is a second Ulamog. Yeah, I am fine conceding to that. GG's. Alright, round 3 here. We have a pretty good Aether Vial hand that becomes relatively weak if the Aether Vial is countered. Not like the hand will do nothing, but this hand is so much better if I can set an Aether Vial to 3 and then just play the Recruiter or the Guard Flicker Wisp game all day. Fuck. Alright, we can still attempt, like, uncounterable Mother of Ruin into uncounterable Recruiter of the Guard, but the hand definitely looks kind of medium now. It's just slow. Cavern Souls or Karakas this turn? I think Cavern of Souls. The thing about playing, like, a Karakas first, for example, is that I can already play a Mom around Daze this turn, but I can't play a 3-drop around Daze next turn. Unless it's Recruiter of the Guard. I'd really prefer to play, like, Skyclave Apparition next turn. But I think just in terms of resources, I want to give my opponent the single turn window to answer Mother of Runes, otherwise I get this active. So, like, if I play it this turn, they get 1 cantrip plus draw step plus their 4 cards in hand to find a Lightning Bolt. And if I wait a turn, they get all of that plus the ability to, like, do something like cast an Expressive Iteration and then answer the Mother of Runes. Well, okay. I phrased this poorly. Steam Vents, okay. So that is their 5th volcanic island. Ah, that's what we're doing, huh? We're gonna make me choose. I'm gonna take this hit. I think this Mother of Runes is quite valuable. It just becomes very awkward if my opponent, like, flips a Swords to fuck me. Flips a Swords to Plowshares off my deck. I don't know that this was going to be the piece of equipment that I was going to get anyway, but it does eliminate something that I really do want to be doing with my deck. Alright, opponent has 3 cards and has chosen to shuffle. Alright, I drew a new Karakas. So, I can play the Recruiter of the Guard, which does not play into Daze, but is a mediocre play right now. Or, I can play the Skyclave Apparition, which is a pretty darn good play, but plays into Daze. I think I'm just going to play the Recruiter of the Guard and attempt to play around Daze this game. Okay, that was quick. Alright, what do I want? I think I am going to just ride this uncounterable train here and try to Sanctum Prelate on 1 and shut off all my opponent's removal and most of their cantrips. And then the big thing I'll have to worry about is Murktide Regent. But if I shut off the Lightning Bolts, then Flicker Wisp plus Mother of Runes should just beat a Murktide Regent the vast majority of the time. That's so fucking... Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Holy shit. Yep, I absolutely will just block and trade here. Will not let my opponent get that extra mana and then cast something like a Murktide here. I will not activate this Mother Runes to try to save this Recruiter. I don't give a shit about it. Yep. Yeah, that's fine. So my opponent does not have a land in the graveyard yet, so I am going to get attacked for 6 next turn, but I don't really care. Best draw would be another Cavern of Souls, so that I can do an uncounterable Flicker Wisp, and then use that to kill both of my opponent's flyers. Alright, that handily goes on 1. Sort of interestingly, it's probably correct for my opponent to wasteland my Karakas. Yeah, not my Cavern of Souls, because the Karakas represents... Oh, fuck me. That's not bad. Yeah, that is legitimately scary. Now if I don't hit land drops to get to Flicker Wisp, I will die. Okay, I did. That's good for me. This is counterable, though. Okay, that's fine. This can send in for 2 safely. I'm still playing around like a Dash Ragavan or something quite well. So now it's just going to be like, does my opponent find a Murktide this turn or a Daze or a Force? All right, so I go down to 4. 4 is very specifically an important number here. All right. Do you have it? No. No, you do not. Opponent can't like stifle me or anything here. This is fine. Attacking for 4. Dash Ragavan becomes slightly more awkward if I get too aggressive. It's going to attack for 2. I don't want to be put into a situation where I have to take extra damage. These are obligatory attacks. They just have to happen. Give this pro red. Go to 1. Okay. That's annoying, but not a Murktide Regent, you know? Make the decision here. See if this gets dazed. It does not. Yes. Let's grab a Batter Skull. I think I'm just going to continue to attack in for 2 and just play around the like as many things as possible. As long as I don't die before I get this first Batter Skull hit, I think it becomes very difficult for me to actually lose the game. Oh, actually, Dash Ragavan is not something I should be playing around, right? Oh, no, it is. Sorry, had a mental brain fart there and started thinking about Chalice for a second instead of Prelate. Alright. We are just eating my opponent's stuff for free here. I think I can take 3 attacks in safely here. Opponent goes to 9 off first strike damage and then 4 off regular damage. And I don't even think I'm really going to have to actually do anything with this Batter Skull before I kill my opponent. Yeah, cast that Expressive Iteration. I believe that leaves you with 0 outs to win the game. Fuck yeah. That one was tight. Alright. 4x Path to Exile, let's go. And obviously, we need to board in All-Star Pacification Array. How could we not? Do I go deeper and go to Zuran Orb territory? I don't think so. What do I not want for this matchup? It's super weird to not have access to Rest in Peace. Like, Rest in Peace stopping every Murktide Regent and making every Dragon Rage Channeler a 1/1 is so much more attractive than something like a Soul Guide Lantern is. Soul Guide Lantern can be a band-aid, but as far as like 4 creature types go, if you have a Dragon Rage Channeler in play and a cantrip in hand, like, it's probably 2 turns until that thing is live. I don't think I'm going to keep the Soul Guide Lantern in the deck. I think that slot gets replaced with Pacification Array, and then I find a way to squeeze 4 Path to Exile in here. I think I'm going to cut Sanctum Prelate, because like I'm going to have 8 1-drop answers to my opponent's threats, and I'm also kind of going to want to cast a Pacification Array if I draw it. That means I need to make 3 other cuts. Jailer's really awkward against Dash Ragavan. I'm not sure that I actually want to keep that in the deck accordingly. Like, if I need removal, I can still just tutor up Skyclave Apparition. I think I'm going to make this trim, especially on the draw. I might just cut my Recruiters, I guess. I don't feel super great about that. This brings my creature count to 19. I boarded in 5 spells, which is more than you often board in for Delver. Like, a lot of times it's just like making a 2-ish card adjustment. Hand's totally solid. It does not have a 1-drop removal spell, which is something that I would really like to see from a hand. but it does have a turn 1 Ether Vial and a handful of backup plays. Okay, what do you got? That's fine. Okay. Second Vial is kind of whatever. The first one gets countered a decent percentage of the time. Yep. Okay, Volcanic Island to Graveyard there. I am pretty sure that I'll just play an Ether Vial on turn 2 rather than do something else. Okay. Would have liked to draw that, but it's whatever. Okay. I can play around Dash Ragavan a little bit here by just leaving up a Caracas rather than playing a Retrofitter Foundry. I think I will do so. It's just awkward if my opponent wastelands. Okay. So my opponent has effectively Rashadan ported me by having Ragavan in hand. Okay. This is kind of what I was talking about with the Soul Guide Lantern, where like we're two turns in. My opponent is somewhat likely to have 4 creature types in graveyard by the end of their second turn after playing Dragon Rage Channeler. Yeah, that's what I don't want to see. Yep. So my opponent doesn't get Dash Ragavan this turn, but they will potentially get it next turn. I go down to 16. Oh, okay, they're just going to play out the Ragavan. That's fine. Pick up the Vial. Ooh. Do it now? I think I'm willing to do it now. It plays into another Force of Negation. Okay, now opponent doesn't have counterspells. But it allows me to then play the Retrofitter Foundry out. Given the Flicker Wisp in hand, I'm more scared of the Ragavan like accidentally ripping equipment out of my deck than I am the Dragon Rage Channeler just dealing extra damage. Alright, another Dragon Rage Channeler. At that point, that starts to get spooky. Still only 3 card types in graveyard, though. My opponent... Yeah, my opponent milled over 2 volcanic islands there. Alright, my opponent played around a Mother of Runes coming in. Just smart. Urza Saga can get Pacification Array in a couple of turns. Alright. Am I doing something sketchy here? My opponent just like F6'd through my previous turn. Like, it made it clear that it didn't have counter magic. I'm going to see if this just goes super quickly. It does. Okay, because that goes super quickly, I'm just going to play Flicker Wisp and get 2 pieces of equipment. I wouldn't do this if not for extra Magic Online information that I have right now. I'm going to get a Caldra. And then with the second one, I'll get a Jitte. So I get something that I can just, like, use. Ooh. What is this in the upkeep? Alright, just Lightning Bolt the Stoneforge. That's fine. This likely turns the Dragon Rage Channelers into real threats, but I can get a Jitte equipped. Okay, they liked whatever was on top of their library there, enough to not put it in the graveyard. So that could be something like a Murktide. Oh, a Gut Shot. Wild. And they have just been unable to get that last card type into graveyard. Okay, that sucks. Now it's Murktide. The good news is the Dragon Rage Channelers are probably... Oh no, they can still keep 3 card types in there. Rough. Alright, I'll leave this on 2. Guess I draw a Stoneforge. Alright, I am going to leave up a Retrofitter Foundry activation rather than play out the Jitte. This doesn't draw that, right? It puts into hand. Puts into hand. So Spirit of Labyrinth does not stop that. Alright, they junk a Surgical Extraction, which I'm not super sure why that's boarded in. So the big thing here is if they put another card type into the graveyard, I don't know that I'm really going to come back from that. Meltdown. Fuck. Meltdown gets rid of Retrofitter Foundry and the token that I would create. Meltdown is a sorcery. Meltdown is a sorcery. Meltdown is a sorcery. My opponent played a land. Okay, if they could have played a land, they would have done so already. I'm not going to port them down mid-combat. I go to 8. So this Meltdown was revealed off of Expressive Iteration, right? Yes. So I don't need to worry about this now. So that means at end of turn, I can make my token, and then I can put in this Spirit of Labyrinth. I really could use a land here. Land means I can go Jitte equip on a servo token, kill both Dragon Rage Channelers. Oh, that's not actually going to work that way, is it? Kill 1 Dragon Rage Channeler. Oh, that's awkward. I guess Flicker Wisp is an amazing draw, but there's only 2 remaining in deck. I'm going to leave this for Stoneforge Mystic. or thalia. I think missing the land there is the end of me. Prior to this thalia coming in, I cast this. I should have done this with this down. Okay, my opponent is dazing this purely for surveil. They still have not transformed those things. I'll go ahead and activate this now. Put in this thalia. And I'll pay for this. I am taking guaranteed 6 in the air. And I'm going to be dead to another Murktide Regent. I'm going to be dead to the Dragon Rage Channelers finally flipping. Alright. I am not. Immediately dead, that is. Alright, I go to 2. Alright. Sure. Now I think I have to tick this up to 3 so that Flicker Wisp can be an out for Murktide Regent for a single turn. Fuck. Okay. I am dead. I can't survive the Murktide hit. Don't have enough mana to make a Thopter or anything. I will unfortunately have to concede here, and we'll go to another game. On the play, I can consider Recruiter of the Guard and Palace Jailer a little more highly. Would really like to play one more creature. And just like a little light for my Ether Vials. Like, there, for example, there's 5 3-drops in the deck right now. So like ticking a vial up is kind of eh. I don't know, the recruiters get got by days. I think this is a time where I just have a wealth of riches. Yeah, I'll keep this. It sucks if the vial gets countered. Super sucks if the vial gets countered. I also think I have to lead on Rashatenport. This is just slightly awkward for me because a Force of Will or Force of Negation is just so good here. Oh, my opponent actually has a Delver of Secrets in their deck. Wow. I have triple 1-drop removal, which is pretty good against this deck. I have Wasteland, so I can stop my opponent's stuff from spiraling outside of control. Ragavan is the one thing that I really didn't want to see. Never punished. I think I am just going to Doors of Plowshare this now and not give my opponent the opportunity to brainstorm. This will play into a Force of Negation. So now I'm just going to get to Wasteland my opponent into Oblivion. I think my opponent just misclicked on a Ragavan there. That is a super costly misclick. I'm going to Wasteland that Volk. I'll play an Ether Vial. Go to my opponent's upkeep to play around Force of Negation. That is just straight up a gut shot to look for a land. Ooh, buddy. I think I'm just going to let my opponent draw a card here. Okay. And the reason why I wanted to do that is so that if my opponent dashed this Ragavan, I could try to get rid of it. My opponent's got 1 card. I am just going to attempt to Path to Exile it, not playing around a Daze. I'm good with that. I don't want this thing getting card advantage. All right. Now, do you have a basic? No. Nice. I will destroy everything that my opponent knows and loves in that case. Oh, nice. Okay, so Wasteland your Volcanic Island. Stoneforge Mystic. Yes. I am just going to take the Cauldron here. Generally speaking, in a vacuum, grabbing the thing that gains life is pretty good in this matchup. But like when I have knocked my opponent off of multiple colored sources here, I think I just want to put the thing into play that is not just going to get brickwalled by a Murktide Regent. Land. Not land. I will just play out a Mother of Runes here. And I'll take my 1 point of attacking. My opponent has 2 card types in graveyard. They've already used the Gut Shot trick. That's not going to increase their card types enough. Alright, opponent not taking the Desperation attack in. We'll leave this at 2 since we have so few 3-drops. Awkward. Now that I have another one of these, I'm willing to just take that out of the way, whereas I wasn't willing to do that before, because Murktide Regent. And I'll take my 1 point of damage. A little bit of a sad game. Okay, that's fine. I will need to use my mana exactly once. Alright. Get in there, Stoneforge, and we will continue to play around removal. Especially since I know that my opponent is playing Gutshot in their deck. Okay, they have found mana. That's fine. End of turn, just Swords to Plowshares that. Yep. Okay, that's fantastic. Now my opponent can waste Nope, they didn't. They could have Wasteland right there before my opponent, before my Urza Saga got the ability. Opponent says, so lucky, it's awesome. Do I rub it in their face? I think I will. FYI, you could have wasted me there to deny me putting in my equipment. Make your own luck. Opponent goes to 10. And there is the concession. That was definitely a weird one. GG's. Alright, now we are probably playing a D&T mirror, and my deck is questionable at best. I have a Jitte, and technically I have a body. I don't know that this hand is actually going to get there. I'm going to go ahead and just mulligan this one. This is a keep. All three of my creatures other than Mother of Runes are problematic for different reasons. I'm going to ditch the Spirit of the Labyrinth. So the Thalia eats it to Caracas. The Spirit of the Labyrinth dies to a Swift Breeze. Just every creature is going to trade with it. And the Flicker Wisp requires white, which I don't currently have access to at the time of the mulligan. Okay. Sure. Alright, so if I just play my Rishadan Port, it just eats it to Wasteland. I am going to play this Thalia, even though I don't really want to play this Thalia. I was really hoping to like Rishadan Port my opponent this turn and then work towards Flicker Wisp into Jitte on curve, but it looks like that's not going to happen easily. The other thing I can do is just play out a Jitte, but then the Jitte, if I don't just like get a surprise with it, potentially eats it to a Skyclave Apparition. Sure. That's bad. I will have to... I want to just picked up Jitte there. I'm going to Skyclave my opponent's Jitte. What am I doing in my own turn cycle? Am I getting my Flicker Wisp in there? I think I need to play my own Jitte this turn. Kind of the punish here is if my opponent has a Cauldra in hand already. Alright, there's another land. Opponent only has one white source. Alright, there goes my port. Sure. Alright, so like now's the question, like, does my opponent actually have a Swords to Plowshares here? They did not Rishadan Port me, which potentially could keep me off of Jitte counter, so they are representing the fact that they realistically could have a Swords to Plowshares. They could also have something buck wild, like a Game 1 Pithing Needle. I'm gonna go for it. If my opponent has it, they have it. If they have it, I get to play a post-combat Retrofitter Foundry. Okay, it's Solitude instead. That's fine. So I'll play this Retrofitter Foundry, and then I can Skyclave Apparition their Jitte next turn. But this does mean that my opponent is going to get an Urza Saga Construct token. That's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's definitely relevant. Things get weirder if my opponent sandbags the Jitte. Okay, there's a Vial. Yep. I'm going to take 4 this turn. My opponent's going to get 2 Jitte counters. I'm going to Skyclave away that Jitte, and then I'll work towards doing cool stuff from there. Alright, yep. So my Skyclave dies. My opponent does not end up getting a token because of the way that they did that, but they probably knew that. So the scariest thing that can probably happen here is my opponent just going land drop and opting to double port me off of white. That gets awkward pretty fast. Ooh. That means opponent has another piece of equipment. I probably don't beat that. So I guess it's Batterskull. I can probably beat a Batterskull with a Jitte long term. Yeah, it's fine. So I am low on gas, whereas my opponent has gas. But I have a Jitte. That card is absurd, especially if this Mother of Runes gets to untap. Yep. Okay, both creatures are attacking in. That's fine. I don't want to trade with that Stoneforge. I'll go to 11. Oh, Recruiter is horrific for me. So that represents Skyclave, which kills my Jitte. I'm going to win from here. I was going to tick up to 3 to do that, so my port isn't really going to do anything in that regard. Take this. I will get my 2 Jitte counters. Opponent goes to 19. I hold these. I could re-equip to Mom. That saves me 4 life, but doesn't actually get any bodies off the field. think I'll just call it good here and probably just remove a Stoneforge Mystic or a Recruiter of the Guard. It's weird if my opponent just goes plains and then plays the Skyclave from hand rather than vialing it in, because then like Flicker Wisp and stuff gets represented. Let's just do this. There's some insane plays I could make involving like trying to take out this Germ token, but I don't think I want to do that and open myself up to weirdness. Sure. Yeah. That's a Yorion to hand. Alright, my Jitte lives to see another turn. Okay. Alright, so I think I'm going to make the same play that my opponent did, where I just go ahead and kill the 2/2 now. So is that true? Is the Stoneforge more valuable? I can try to turn this into another creature later. What don't I want my opponent to blink with Yorion in a couple of turns? Probably Recruiter. Although it's all bad, honestly. Maybe it's the Skyclave. Skyclave has the most immediate impact on the game immediately. That is not going to do anything here. I am not going to win a race in the short term here. I'm not even going to attack. I'm going to hold back. Alright. Control it on 1. Shut off removal. For sure. We'll just take it up to 4. I think I'm more or less ready to just concede here. Oh, especially now. I'm not going to be Yorion plus... Oh. Okay. I'm not even willing to just make the attack in there. They're just going to double port me, keeping me off of some of the bigger, flashier things that I can do. Yeah, that's fine. I'll port again in draw step, yada yada yada. I'll make a new token. This file ticks up to 5, and I don't think I beat it. Like, this just represents another piece of equipment, another card tutored. Alright, and Timeless Dragon as well. I think this is probably enough that I can just go ahead and concede. I am probably not winning from here. I'm just going to save myself the time. So our board is not typical. I have 6 things that I can consider boarding in. This sucks. And these sucks, and this sucks. So that would be my 6 for 6. This leaves me incredibly creature light at 18. Is my build bad enough that I need to play some number of thalia? This is a lot of Path to Exile, especially for a 60 card deck. I'm worried at a creature count of 18 that I'm just not going to close the game quickly enough to actually kill my opponent before things like Yorion come online. Like, I don't super want to prolong the game. I think, and I'm going to do this, and it's super questionable, but I think I just need a couple more bodies in here. And it's possible that, like, just playing an Aethersworn Canonist as a 2/2 that can't be bounced is better than a 2/1 first striker here. Alright, opening hand is a little awkward here with, like, double Caracas, double Vial. I'm going to keep it. But, like, the stuff that I have here is super awkward. My opponent's Aether Vial is also better than my Aether Vial due to the presence of Yorion. This is kind of neat, though. This is fine. That gives me something to do with my mana over the next couple of turns. My Urza's constructs also would likely be bigger than my opponent's if they also end up with an Urza Saga. Sure. Activate this. Yes. Opponent doesn't have Solitude. Pick up both vials. Sure. I'll just play out this. Some Urza Saga tokens. No attacks necessary. But this is kind of what I was talking about in terms of like being creature light. I forget the exact number, but I think I said it was going to be at like 18 creatures if I didn't keep 2 Thalias, which is rough. Right, that's just another planes. Oh, that's horrifying. Because like my opponent is going to be able to set up like Vile, Flicker Wisp Recruiter chains, or just like fish out a Stoneforge. Yep, they fished out Stoneforge. Okay, we'll see if my opponent plays around Pithing Needle. Oh my god. Magic Online. Please stop putting my triggers under the stack or vice versa, whatever that was. I did not enjoy it. I don't love this. Okay. They are going to play around it. Okay, there's the Stoneforge. Alright, they've gotten Jitte. So now, what am I getting? I can just needle Jitte. I think I will go ahead and do that. I am looking to just end this game in like 2 turns. I'm unsure whether or not I want to give up a Caracas to leave up Swords to Plowshares in this turn cycle. I don't think I'm going to do that. Going all in on a Jitte baseline is a little risky here. Alright, both vials tick up. Okay, it's just another land. This Palace Jailer in my hand is super awkward. As is the fact that, like, I just don't have creature density in this version of the deck. That's rough. That's probably just a Flicker Wisp, which makes combat exceptionally difficult for me. Okay, it is a Skyclave instead. Same deal. That also makes things difficult. Alright, this is the one on 3. I think I will tick that up to 4. The one on 2, I will tick that up to 3. Cool. Makes my stuff one larger. I essentially just need to beat down with these 2 construct tokens before my opponent can take over the game. Alright, there's a chump. Okay. Skyclave takes out the Pithing Needle. Expected. Opponent goes to 10. Now we play this horrific fucking sub-game. I'll remove this. Use that to get a 1/1 body. I'm just going to hold up Swords to Plowshares and take my card draw here. It is Pacification Array, which honestly doesn't look too horrific here. They just need to make it a turn or 2. Like, I am just simply trying to limp over a finish line. Okay, my opponent has conceded. A shame. Didn't get the Pacification Array in play before the concession. That's the real dagger of this match. Alright. I think on the draw, I'm going to play my Containment Priests over Thalia. Containment Priest does all sorts of fucked up things to a Death and Taxes Mirror. Especially when one of the builds is Yorion and the other isn't, because the Yorion build is a little more reliant on the Vial. This will leave me at the 20 creatures that I want to be at. I wasn't really willing to shut off my own Vials on the play, but I think on the draw, that becomes a more reasonable proposition. Of course, play the Containment Priest, draw it in the hand with the Aether Vial, it never fails. Our opponent will, like, have a Mother of Ruin start for kicker? No. Okay. Fine. Alright, I will mirror that start. Okay. Oh. Well, this Containment Priest is going to look real good. See if my opponent has an end of turn Mother of Runes. No. I will go ahead and attempt this here. Before these tick up any further. I'm not going to try to get too cute with it. Opponent played around Containment Priest. Well done. Okay. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and junk your Mother of Runes here then. I don't really love giving my opponent extra mana, but I really do not want them to have access to Mother of Runes when I'm planning on winning this game via a Jitte. Alright, I'm going to just play my land. I'll crash in for 2. Opponent goes to 18. And I'll attempt a Stoneforge. Yes. Do I want Jitte? Yeah, I think I still want Jitte. A Swords to Plowshares, Path to Exile, or Skyclave Apparition that takes out this Containment Priest is a huge pain in the butt for me. Sure. I think good just putting in the Jitte this turn. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Alright, Port is not a draw I'm super interested in. I am, however, super interested in blowing up this Urza Saga. And no attack into my opponent's first striker here. I hate that I only have 3 Flicker Wisps as flyers in this deck. The board stalls like this become awkward. Caracas would be a baller draw. Got 3 of those to draw towards to get this out of the way. Okay, that's a Yorion to hand. That's fine. Alright. Vial's not really doing anything right now. The Jitte's not doing anything until I get the Thalia out of the way. The Yorion is also potentially going to be in the way. I think I have to just Rishadan Port my opponent for a while. Try to keep that out of play. And if I'm going to do that, then I need to Rishadan Port the Rishadan Port, so they can't just Rishadan Port me one end step from now. Okay. Backlave is rough. Skyclave means that Yorion is immediately live. I just don't likely win from here. Guess I Skyclave their Skyclave in response to that. Guess I can let it enter play. Well, that gets weird with the Flicker Wisp. Alright. Skyclave the Skyclave. I'll get a little token. Token, unfortunately, is just a 2/2. Wasteland's okay. Just okay. We'll take out that Caracas. Go ahead and get this equipped here. I think I'm just going to continue to futz with my opponent's mana rather than play out my Aether Vial. I can do this later. Alright, that's just another land. See whether or not my opponent actually starts attacking. They do. I'll go to 16. Alright, this is just going to be an awkward game of do nothing for a while. I'm getting clocked while this happens, though. Alright, tap down some lands. Get hit for 4. Probably call it a turn cycle. Ooh, that's bad. Like, my opponent can get a Jitte active, whereas I can't, because this Thalia is still in the way. I need something like a Caracas to get it out of the way to start unlocking my own Jitte. Okay. I have lines with varying degrees of risk. I kind of like the aggressive line of Recruiter for Stoneforge. Recruiter for Stoneforge. Activate, put in Cauldra, equip Cauldra with Jitte. It's super fucking blown out by a Flicker Wisp. But otherwise it puts me with a creature that is large enough to actually survive a Jitte hit. And it finally gets me through this Thalia. The issue is that the +2/+2 mode on the Jitte ends up being kind of scary. If I try to use Recruiter defensively, stuff gets pretty weird. I could also attempt a Palace Jailer baseline, where I Jailer Yorion out of the way, and then try to get something that beats the Thalia. I can also try, like, Recruiter for Flicker Wisp, Flicker Wisp Recruiter, get Flicker Wisp, and then just, like, play it safe. I think I'm going to do that. Alright, so I'll play the Flicker Wisp. I'll Flicker Wisp my Recruiter. This will come back at end step, at which point I'll grab a new Flicker Wisp, and this gives me a good degree of flexibility. Okay, there's a Mother of Runes. Okay, what the fuck am I doing with my Flicker Wisp now? Flicker Whisper Recruiter, get Stoneforge, go for the line that gets me Jitte counters, use that to kill Mother of Runes. I guess if my opponent's Rishadan Port gets involved, I'm 1 mana short of that. I think I'm just going to pick up another Flicker Wisp. Target my Recruiter. Or is a Plowshares a Recruiter? That's annoying. I can guaranteed get Jitte counters this turn. It comes at a price. I can just throw away a Flicker Wisp to kill Thalia plus Mother of Runes, or equivalent. My opponent's Yorion getting in there afterwards ends up being super awkward for me. I don't think I'm going to beat an unchecked Mother of Runes here. I'll ship in with my Flicker Wisp. Yep. I've got Jitte counters. I could use this to kill the Yorion, and then leave my opponent with Mother of Runes. Is there any way I can get my own Mother of Runes online? Not easily. I kill this mom. I'm going to equip this Flicker Wisp. And then I am going to just throw all my pieces onto the table because I think I need to. Alright, I can't do that one. I mean, I could by killing the Thalia, but I don't think I gain a lot by doing that. Here's my opponent's Jitte. I have a line where I can block with my own Flicker Wisp and kill it to prevent my opponent from getting Jitte counters if they attack in with Yorion. Or I can just try to trade with my opponent's Yorion. I'm super awkward. One of us is potentially just going to time out before either of us actually dies. Sure. I'm going to go ahead and block here. I'm going to trade with the Yorion. So these are placed in the order of non-active player, active player, non-active player. So my Jitte counters resolve first, so my opponent cannot easily equip. Okay. Sure. Opponent's got 1 card. Sure. Okay, they're opting to kill my Mother of Runes. Oh. I'm going to force the Plowshares the Stoneforge Mystic. Guess I should have minused on the Thalia first, save myself a mana. Like, irrelevant mana too, because it's the difference between Rishadan porting and not. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and just try to get this game over with. Alright, always yield here. Yeah, if I had saved myself that mana, I could port down this Urza Saga. Sanctum Prelate on 10. I respect it. Alright, Urza Saga ticks up. Alright, there's a Construct. 4/4 with a Jitte on it. Swords of Plowshares is a fine pickup here. Get that thing out of the way. Alright, hit my opponent for a little bit of damage. Call it good. I should have moved the Jitte around, but I'm at the point where I have to just start making slightly suboptimal plays for clock-based reasons. Alright, so let's do some stuff here. Alright, there's the Golem. Does my opponent have Pithing Needle? It's super rough if they do. Maybe it's not super rough. I'm gonna let it happen. If both Jittes get Pithing Needled, we're in a situation where we have similar-ish boards and I'm up on time. Think I'm okay with that? Okay. Second body there is a little scary. I'll take that hit. I'll tap down a couple lands here. Okay, that's a useless vial. That is a 6/6. Jump that a couple times. At this point, we're probably trying to win on timeout. Wasteland. Blow this up. Tap down 2 lands there. Okay. How do I win this largest proportion of the time? Is it just by ripping a removal spell for this, or is it by chumping that as many times as possible? Probably by ripping a removal spell. If I just chump this and take 5 and then take 5 again, I'll be dead on the third swing. I think I just need to rip a removal spell or blocker. Alright, so my opponent does get another 3/3 out of that, unfortunately. Alright, I ripped an Ether Vial, so I am dead. GG's. On the play with the hand that is a little bit questionable. If this Aether Vial lives and doesn't get countered or prismatic endinged, this hand is superb. If it does get countered, this hand is unplayable, and I probably just die. I think I'm okay keeping it on the play. I would mulligan this on the draw. It's like once Daze gets involved as another way to take this out, I'm just not willing to accept the risk of this hand. Alright, it's going to be a rough hand. We do have a Karakas, which is very relevant in a show and tell based matchup. I do have Mother of Runes I can play out as a second 1-drop play. Okay, and we just spiked the land anyway. I'm 100% willing to like play a Thalia into Daze versus some of the show and tell builds that happen to run the Daze in order to not just like lose out on mana equity here. Not like Thalia is great versus show and tell anyway. If I want a Thalia to be impactful, I really need to play it this turn, because after my opponent has a chance to make their second land drop, they can just like play a soul land and cast show and tell. So it's kind of like this turn or bust regarding this hand. Or regarding this Thalia, rather. Okay, yep, there is the Daze. No regrets. Alright. Land pedal. Sure. Now I have a Skyclave target, in good news. Play Vial. Play a 1/1 attacker. The good news is I have double Flicker Wisp for if my opponent does just like cast a show and tell and put in an Omniscience. I can try to get cute. So this right here is the point where they could cast a show and tell if they have it. And seems likely. Sure. Okay, it is just a Grizzlebrand. I think in this situation I just untap my land and take an end of turn bounce on this Grizzlebrand rather than having to use the mana on my next turn. My Karakas comes back. I'm going to bounce this Grizzlebrand. My opponent's going to draw 7 in response. And if I draw a land, things get pretty cool. Alright. Daze, Spirit Guide, Rainforest. Discarded. So I'll take up my Vial. Not draw a relevant card here. If I drew the land, I got to do kind of a cool Flicker Wisp trick, where I Flicker Wisp my own Flicker Wisp, and then Flicker Wisp a land out of play for my opponent to deny them a mana. Alright. I mean, that's fantastic for me. I actually don't know if my opponent was supposed to just play that land prior to the Brainstorm, because now they can't go Soul Land Show and Tell. They have to go, like, Spirit Guide or Petal into Show and Tell. They might still have some fast mana since they discarded a Spirit Guide in the first place. Alternative Spirit Guide art, by the way. Neat. Kind of rough part here is that I only have 4 damage on board, so my opponent's not just dead next turn. The board's also somewhat unlikely to change noticeably here. Okay. Can at least do Flicker Wisp shenanigans this time around. Actually, do I even want to do Flicker Wisp shenanigans? Walks under Daze, and it also drops Caracas. I can also just like hold this Flicker Wisp in hand for if my opponent casts a Show and Tell. Yeah, I have lethal next turn anyway. Yeah, I think I'm good. Do I want to play around 2 different fetch lands? Sure. I could not do this and just like have a 2-turn clock anyway, but this means that my opponent can't fetch a second time. If I port down one of my opponent's lands, they can still just go like Soul Land, Sneak Attack, Spirit Guide, kill me, or equivalent. I don't think I am actually going to cast either one of these cards. This is a weird game. Sure, Brainstorm's fine. Now my opponent is stuck with these cards. So like they're gonna redraw 1 for their turn. They can't fetch to shuffle this stuff away. Ancient Tomb is off. City of Traders is still alive. Okay. Ponder gives true fresh looks. That is not a shuffle. That is not a shuffle into a concession. Okay. That's a bit strange, but it's fine. I mean, we're absolutely going to board in Pacification Array, right? Like, gotta hunt that bounty. Pithing Needle is fine. Canonist is fine. Containment Priest is fine. Deafening Silence is fine. I don't have very many good sideboard cards here, but I have a bunch of stuff that's fine. Soul Guide Lantern can go out. I think Retrofitter Foundry can go out. Like, I'm going to be bringing 2 other things in that I would rather have instead for the matchup. Swords to Plowshares is not particularly great. Skyclave Apparition is not particularly great. I could also consider some number of Path to Exile as something that can get a Grizzlebrand out of the way. Don't really like Jitte here. Most of the rest of this stuff is okay. So now it's kind of a decision point of, like, do I want a couple Path to Exiles to potentially answer a Grizzlebrand without giving my opponent life, or do I want more copies of Deafening Silence to better play around an Omniscience baseline? The Deafening Silences are slightly awkward because this mana base has 2 Cavernous Souls, so literally only half of my lands will cast Deafening Silence. Same is true of Path to Exile, though, I guess. But Deafening Silence is the thing that I want to play on turn 1. Or Deafening Silence. It's like infinite Deafening Silences. Yeah, whatever. Let's try it out. Well, this is a weird looking hand. What am I supposed to play on turn 1? I mean, I'm going to keep this hand. It's just quite strange. Like, it's not Pacification Array. I feel pretty confident about that. But the rest of the stuff here is pretty reasonable. I play Deafening Silence on 1. I can't play Vial and Pacification Array on turn 2. Which is like a thing. Alright, Wasteland is a fine draw. I'll play Aether Vial on 1 so that I can play Deafening Silence and Pacification Array on turn 2. I think I'm going to do this off of Plains. There's an argument to do it off of Caracas instead because I have so many different 1-drops in my hand. Or sorry, I have so many different value-oriented lands in my hand that, like, I have other things that I'm going to want to play out. Okay. Cool. Let's let this Vial tick up. And now I run... Well, now I run into this really awkward situation where I want to play Pacification Array followed by Deafening Silence, but if I do so, I play Deafening Silence into Daze. So my opponent doesn't currently have Show and Tell plus Creature, or they potentially would have just killed me. I think I'm just going to play Deafening Silence here. And it resolves. Now I don't get to play this, but I'm holding up Caracas. And I have some respectable options to me for the next turn cycle. I hope my opponent grabs a Volk so I can Wasteland it later. Okay, that's fine. Alright. So that's my opponent's spell. I am going to get to Wasteland my opponent and then play either Thalia or Containment Priest. Yep. Now I have a choice about, like, which land I Wasteland. Okay. I am going to, I think, take out the Ancient Tomb. It's unclear that that's actually correct. I'm going to put in this Pacification Array now. Going to become much more awkward to cast this in the future, just due to this Thalia that is somewhat likely coming into play for me. Alright, am I Thalia-ing? I think I'm Thalia-ing. Doing it another way just makes my Ether Vial more awkward for the future. Alright. That's fine. I guess this is most likely a Grizzlebrand. I'll put in this Urza's Saga. Ooh, okay, it is the Omniscience. That's fine. Oddly enough, that's fine because of motherfucking Pacification Array. What a fucking world. Oh. Huh. That is now slightly less fine. Alright, so on my opponent's upkeep, I will just tap down this Emrakul. Deafening Silence notably says non-creature, so my opponent was able to cast multiple creature spells after getting that Omniscience into play. But I can keep this Emrakul tapped down forever and then bounce the Grizzlebrand after one turn. I wonder if I'm actually in okay shape. Alright, so there's a draw 7. I guess I'm just worried about my opponent finding another Emrakul. Okay, another draw 7. They just find another Emrakul, take an extra turn, I'm dead. They keep drawing deep, though, and miss again. Life starts to get a little scary for them. Okay. Alright. That's their one non-creature. I guess I leave this at 2 to try to beat out the sneak attack. Alright, new Thalia, not great. I'm not going to get an Urza Saga token here, because I have to use 2 mana for this Pacification Array, and then I just have 2 mana left over if I do Caracas stuff. I think I will go ahead and just take an attack in with the Thalia. My opponent activates a sneak attack and puts in a new Grizzlebrand or Emrakul. Like, so be it. I just bounce it with Caracas after blocks. They, like, Legend Rule one of their critters. I can also just, like, tap Ether Vial here and get cute that way. Okay, so my opponent didn't respond to sneak attack. Meaning that I now shut off sneak attack. Alright, so I deal 2 damage to my opponent. I can bounce a Grizzlebrand and tap down an Emrakul. I don't think I need to involve the Legend ruling of Caracas in this turn cycle. I think I am okay. I want to win this game so bad right now. Sure. Oh, Pyroclasm is straight up annoying. That turns sneak attack back on. Resolves, I mean, it's happening. I will tap down Emrakul. If my opponent has a new Emrakul, they get to get me with sneak attack here. Grizzlebrand crashes in. I bounce Grizzlebrand. Alright, opponent just lets it return to hand. They'll recast it. That is casting a Simian Spirit Guide. Welcome to Legacy. It's wild. I'll leave this at 2 so I can put in a new Thalia. This Recruiter of the Guard is really good. This can get a Palace Jailer and more permanently answer one of these threats. This Urza Saga is getting a Pithing Needle. Oh, am I gonna die to losing my own Urza Saga here? I need 2 mana for Pacification Array, and then I need Caracas for bouncing. I don't have access to that. That is not good. That is not good at all. Regardless, I will float mana here. I'm going to get Pithing Needle, and now the question is, like, do I name Grizzlebrand or Sneak Attack? Both are pretty annoying. I probably have to name Sneak Attack, because the Grizzlebrand is not currently in play. So the Grizzlebrand can't attack in this turn cycle if I name Sneak Attack. Okay. So now I have 2 mana, tap down Emrakul. In combat, I'll ambush Spirit Guide with Thalia. Oh, man. What a wild game. Pacification Array, the Emrakul. And now I'll ambush Viper this monkey. Yeah. Block. This is wild that this all is working, just by the way. Yep. So now I need, like, any land here. Okay, Ponder's fine. Any land, and I can just continue to Pacification Array this Emrakul while bouncing the Grizzlebrand. Vial will go up to 3 here. Land, fuck. Okay. The Grizzlebrand gets a hit. Oh no, Grizzlebrand doesn't get a hit. I just bounce Grizzlebrand this turn in attack and Legend Rule my own land. The sneak attack is currently off. Yep, okay, cool. Gunk Grizzlebrand. Alright, it's in hand. Keep this Caracas. Bash in for 2, put my opponent to 7. Whew. Alright. Legend rule for City of Traders. Don't think they're overly concerned about their City of Traders currently, if I were to guess. Another sneak attack will resolve, yes. Just imagine the bad beat story. Yeah, I lost to someone on turn 12 because they had a fucking pacification array in their deck. How was I supposed to beat that? Activate. Yes. Recruiter. Yes. Alice Jailer. Pick this up to 4. Ooh. That's not bad. So, I guess in terms of order of operations, some weird trick bind sort of shit happens. I guess I want to do this first. Yes. Alice Jailer. I'm just going to exile the Emrakul. Fine with bouncing the Grizzlebrand. I'll bash in for 3. That puts my opponent to 4. I will play Mother of Runes. And now, because I am the pretty princess, I draw an additional card. And boy, an extra land sounds real nice right about now. I can't even lose to, like, Cunning Wish for answer any. Fuck yeah! Yeah! Pacification array! Hello? I would like to collect my bounty. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone whose gender requirements and pronouns don't fit cleanly into either one of those categories. I hope you enjoyed the ride. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Well, obviously, we knew from the start it was a little bit questionable, right? But we ended up with a 3-2 that was pretty close to a 4-1. Generally speaking, I think D&T is pretty well positioned right now. I don't really love the Cavern of Souls in the deck list. I think it does put a little bit of strain on your white symbols, and I'm not a huge fan of the main deck Soul Guide Lantern. I get that it's graveyard hate, and that's cool and all, but generally speaking, I view Soul Guide Lantern as like a pity card rather than a card that's actually actively good. Palace Jailer was also quite good in this last match here, but I don't know that generally speaking it's particularly awesome. It's really competing with Solitude, which is a strong card in the early game, whereas D&T is often going to like win if you drag it to the late game anyway. Honestly, the Pacification array wasn't that bad. I brought it in for a lot of rounds. It is a little slow, it is a little mana intensive, but there may be some world in your local meta where it is correct to be playing something that looks like that. Zuran Orb, yeah, sorry buddy, I don't know about that. I don't know that I really want 4 Deafening Silences or 4 Path to Exiles. It worked out for the things that I played against, but you know, there were a couple of times where I was saying something like, I don't have a Gideon, I don't have a Cataclysm or something like that, and there were definitely effects that I was missing with how the sideboard was constructed. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed these ridiculous shenanigans. If you did, throw me a like before you go. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. And if you really want to support the content, or you want to try out some other crazy bounty-based thing, you know, hit me up. My information is in the video comments, as is this, sorry, in the video description, as is this deck list. Have a great rest of the day. See ya!